The testing bay on Zenith Station smelled like ozone and disappointment. Quelm had been administering physical assessments for 17 orbital cycles, and in all that time, he had never seen equipment malfunction quite this spectacularly. The holographic display above his console flickered between numbers that simply could not be real, then settled on a reading that made his third eye twitch involuntarily. 0.03 seconds. Impossible. The human female standing in the center of the testing arena looked up at him with an expression of mild curiosity, still holding the drone she had plucked from the air. Her name was Kira, according to the file, and she had just caught a device traveling at 47 meters per second, during a test specifically designed to measure failure response time. "Did I do something wrong?" Kira called out, her voice echoing in the cavernous space. The little flying thing was going to hit the floor. Seemed like a waste of equipment. Quelm's translator implant struggled with the casual tone, rendering her words with an uncertainty marker that pulsed at the edge of his perception. He glanced at Vokta, his Threndal assistant, whose usually stoic facial plates had shifted into what he recognized as confusion. "The test drone," Vokta said slowly, her 6 fingers dancing across her own console, was dropped at randomized intervals to measure startled response and threat assessment capability. Subjects are not supposed to catch it. Subjects are not capable of catching it. "Oh," Kira shrugged, setting the drone down gently. "Sorry, reflexes, I guess. You want me to not catch it next time?" Quelm felt a headache building behind his optical nerves. In 17 cycles, he had processed 2,463 species through this facility. Krells with their 4-dimensional perception fields, and Thoxy with predictive neural networks that could calculate trajectory before objects even moved. Yulden with their crystal-based consciousness that experienced time in nonlinear fragments. None of them had ever caught the test drone. "System reboot," he announced, his voice carrying the clipped authority of someone who had dealt with technical failures before. "Clearly, we are experiencing calibration errors." The holographic displays winked out, then slowly powered back up. Quelm ran a full diagnostic while Kira waited patiently in the testing arena, examining her fingernails with an air of complete disinterest. The diagnostic came back clean, all systems functioning within normal parameters. Fine. He would simply run the test again. "Prepare for assessment 2, Quelm called out. "This evaluation will measure your reaction to multiple simultaneous threats. Please remain in the designated zone." Kira gave him a thumbs up, a bizarre human gesture his database informed him meant agreement. She rolled her shoulders, bounced slightly on her feet, and waited. Quelm initiated the sequence. 3 drones dropped from concealed ceiling panels at different angles and speeds. They were programmed to fall in a pattern that made interception geometrically impossible for any being with standard 3-dimensional movement capability. Kira caught all 3, with one hand, the left one specifically, while her right hand appeared to be scratching her nose. "By the 17 hells," Vokta whispered, her translator barely functioning through what Quelm recognized as existential shock. "She moved before they dropped. She could not have moved before they dropped. The release mechanism is randomized at the quantum level." "Equipment failure," Quelm repeated, but his voice lacked conviction now. "Run the Level 5 assessment." "Level 5 is for catastrophic emergency response," Vokta protested. "We have never actually used Level 5 in standard recruitment testing. It is designed for military special operations candidates only." "Run it." The Level 5 assessment involved 12 drones, 4 simulated laser targeting systems, 3 kinetic projectiles, and a holographic threat that was supposed to trigger panic response in 98% of tested species. The entire sequence lasted 4.7 seconds and cost more in energy expenditure than Quelm's monthly salary. Kira caught 10 of the 12 drones, dodged all 4 laser targets, deflected 2 kinetic projectiles with a piece of dropped equipment, and completely ignored the holographic threat while humming something his translator identified as a song called "Don't Stop Believing." She missed 2 drones, she explained afterward, because she had been trying to see if she could bounce one off the wall to hit another in midair. She seemed disappointed that it hadn't worked. The observation room overlooking the testing bay had begun to fill with faces. Word traveled fast on Zenith Station, particularly when word involved spectacular equipment malfunction. Quelm recognized Fenn, the Corvalli administrator who oversaw the entire recruitment division. Behind him stood Liss, the medical scanner technician who was supposed to be 3 levels down in biosafety. Even Brandt, the notoriously lazy Hulvex coordinator who never left his office, had materialized at the viewing window. They all stared at Kira, who had sat down cross-legged on the floor and was now attempting to balance one of the test drones on her finger. Quelm. Fenn's voice crackled through the communication channel, carrying the careful neutrality of someone trying very hard not to panic. What exactly are we observing here? A malfunction, Quelm said automatically. A malfunction that has now occurred during 6 consecutive tests with 6 different equipment sets across 3 separate power grids. Quelm had no response to that. His understanding of physics, built over 17 cycles of careful observation and measurement, was experiencing what his medical files would probably describe as a significant emotional event. In the arena, Kira had given up on balancing the drone and was now waving up at the observation window. Hey, so, question. Is there like a lunch break situation happening soon? Because I had breakfast like 4 hours ago, and your station time is super confusing. Retrieve her biology file, Fenn ordered. Full genetic scan, cybernetic detection, enhancement markers, everything. Liss's fingers flew across her portable console, running complete biological analysis, scanning for artificial augmentation, genetic modification, symbiotic organisms, psionic amplifiers, temporal dilation fields, probability manipulators, and parallel consciousness threading. The results came back in real time, displaying across every screen in the observation room. Human, female, age 24 standard cycles, no augmentation, no modification, no enhancement of any kind. Genetic markers indicated origin from a colony world called New Terra, agricultural sector, registered as completely baseline human standard. That is not possible, Vakta said flatly. Her performance indicates capability at least 4 standard deviations above her biological specifications. Then test another human, Fenn suggested, his tone carrying the dangerous calm of someone whose entire worldview was beginning to crack. We have 17 humans currently in recruitment processing. Test them all. So they did. Over the next 2 hours, Quelm processed 6 more human recruits through the testing bay. A male named Garrett, who had worked as a fisherman. A female named Endra, who had been a construction supervisor. 2 siblings who had operated a small transport business. A botanist, a musician. Every single one of them caught the drone. Every single one of them passed tests designed to be impossible. Garrett actually apologized for his slow reaction time on the Level 3 assessment, explaining that he had been thinking about lunch and was not really paying attention. His recorded response time was 0.04 seconds, He considered this embarrassing. Quelm sat at his console, staring at 17 cycles of carefully documented testing protocols that had suddenly become completely useless. Behind him, the observation room had transformed into something resembling a crisis response center, with officials shouting into communication devices and demanding explanations that nobody could provide. In the testing arena, Kira had struck up a conversation with Endra about something called volleyball, describing it as a game where humans deliberately hit objects back and forth at high speed for entertainment, for fun, as recreation. "We should probably tell them this is normal, right?" Endra said, gesturing up at the observation window where alien faces pressed against the transparent aluminum in various expressions of horror. "Nah," Kira replied, grinning. "I kind of want to see how long it takes them to figure it out." Above them, Quelm began drafting his incident report. He got as far as typing the word "humans" before deleting it and starting over. He did this 14 times before giving up entirely and requesting an emergency meeting with the xenobiology department. Something was very, very wrong with his understanding of the universe. Or more terrifyingly, something was very, very right with humans. Hular arrived at the testing bay with the kind of urgency usually reserved for station-wide emergencies. The senior biomechanics expert had been pulled from a lecture on anthoxy muscle fiber density, and his irritation showed in the rapid clicking of his mandibles. That irritation evaporated the moment Fen showed him the test results. "You are telling me," Hular said slowly, his translator struggling with his native language's incredulous tones, "that a species with no notable physical advantages, no evolutionary specialization for speed, and frankly underwhelming musculature, is outperforming our best military recruits?" "Not outperforming," Vokta corrected quietly. "Obliterating. The performance gap is not measurable on our standard scales." Hular's compound eyes fixed on Kira, who was now teaching Endra some kind of hand-slapping game that involved increasingly complex patterns and a great deal of laughter. "Get her into medical scanning, full biomechanical analysis. I want to see everything." 20 minutes later, Kira lay on a scanning platform while Liss operated the medical equipment with the focused intensity of someone whose entire professional reputation hung in the balance. Holographic displays surrounded the platform, showing every aspect of Kira's biology in excruciating detail. "Bone density?" Hular demanded. "Standard for Earth gravity species," Liss reported. "Actually slightly below average compared to Krell baseline. Neural processing speed? Comparable to Threndal standard. Nothing exceptional. Muscle fiber composition? Type 2 dominant, consistent with pursuit predator biology, but again, nothing that explains the performance metrics." Hular moved closer to the displays, his frustration mounting with each normal reading. There must be something. Humans do not simply violate physics because they feel like it. "Hey," Kira called out from the scanning platform, "not to interrupt the science panic or whatever, but can I ask a question?" "Proceed," Hular said absently, still studying her skeletal structure for hidden advantages. "What exactly is weird about catching stuff? Because where I come from, that is like basic kid activity. We play catch before we can even talk properly." The observation room fell silent. Quelm felt his third eye twitch again. "Explain," Hular commanded. "Okay, so back home we have this game called baseball. You throw a ball, someone hits it with a stick, and people try to catch it. The ball moves at like, I do not know, maybe 40 meters per second. And we play this for fun. Children play this for fun. There is also tennis, volleyball, basketball, football, frisbee, and honestly like 100 other games that are just variations of throwing and catching things. You train your young in high-speed object interception. Vokta's voice had climbed an octave. Train is a strong word. It is more like, we do it because it is entertaining. My little brother could catch stuff when he was like 5 years old. Hular's mandibles had stopped clicking entirely. You are describing pursuit predator training protocols, military-grade reflexes developed through childhood conditioning. I am describing playing in a backyard, Kira corrected, sounding confused. Do your species not play catch? No, Quelm said flatly. No, we do not play catch. Most coalition species are evolutionarily descended from prey animals. We do not have instincts that involve tracking fast-moving objects for entertainment purposes. We have instincts that involve not being eaten by things that move fast. Oh, Kira processed this. That is actually kind of sad. Tavik had not slept in 32 hours. The xenobiologist stood before the Coalition Assessment Board, his presentation materials floating in holographic arrays that painted the briefing room in shades of blue and amber. His audience consisted of 15 high-ranking officials who all wore expressions ranging from skepticism to outright disbelief. Honored officials, Tavik began, his voice steady despite his exhaustion. I have completed my analysis of human evolutionary biology. What we are witnessing is not an anomaly. It is baseline apex predator neurology. Fen leaned forward in his seat. Explain. Tavik activated the first display, showing a rotating model of Earth. The human homeworld presents environmental pressures that are, to put it mildly, extreme. Gravity 0.98 times standard. Atmospheric oxygen concentration that would be toxic to 6 coalition species. Temperature variations that span over 100 degrees. And a biodiversity index that classifies it as a Class 4 death world. Bront, the Hulvex coordinator, made a choking sound. Humans come from a death world? They come from the death world, Tavik corrected. Earth has produced some of the most successful predator species in catalogued history. Allow me to demonstrate. The holographic display shifted, showing creatures that made several board members recoil. This is a Terran lion, pursuit predator, capable of speeds up to 80 kilometers per hour. This is a great white shark, aquatic apex predator with bite force exceeding 18,000 newtons. This is a saltwater crocodile, ambush predator that has remained evolutionarily unchanged for 200 million years because it achieved perfect lethality. What does this have to do with catching drones? Fen asked, though his voice had lost its earlier certainty. Everything, Tavik said quietly. Because humans hunted these animals. For sport, for food, for survival. Human evolutionary success is built on their ability to track, predict, and intercept fast-moving prey across varied terrain over extended time periods. Their entire sensory system is optimized for pursuit hunting. He pulled up another display, this one showing human optical biology. Binocular forward-facing vision with exceptional depth perception. Bipedal locomotion that frees upper limbs for tool use and object manipulation. Sweat-based cooling system that allows sustained exertion in conditions that would kill most species through overheating. And yes, reflexes calibrated to intercept objects moving at speeds that prey species instinctively flee from. Liz, attending as medical consultant, added her own data to the display. I have been reviewing human recreational activities. They have over 200 documented games involving high-speed projectile interception. They teach these to children as developmental exercises. What we classify as elite military reflexes, they classify as elementary school physical education. By the void, Bront whispered. We tested persistence predators using prey animal standards. Precisely, Tavik confirmed. Our entire testing framework is built on the assumption that advanced species evolved from herbivores or opportunistic omnivores. Species that survived through evasion, camouflage, or herd behavior. We have no baseline for predator species because we have never encountered one that achieved spaceflight capability. Until now, Fenn finished. Until now. The briefing room descended into chaos. Officials spoke over each other in 6 different languages, their translators struggling to keep pace. Someone demanded an embargo on human recruitment. Someone else suggested reclassifying humans as potential threat species. Bront appeared to be having difficulty breathing and had to excuse himself to medical. Meanwhile, 3 levels down in the station cafeteria, Kira sat with Endra and Garrett, poking suspiciously at something the menu claimed was protein paste. This tastes like sadness, Garrett announced. This tastes like sadness gave up, Endra corrected. Why is everyone staring at us? Kira asked, noticing the cluster of alien personnel watching their table with expressions she could not quite identify. Maybe they have never seen humans eat before? Garrett suggested. Or maybe, Endra said thoughtfully, we accidentally did something weird again. The emergency council meeting lasted 6 hours and produced exactly 0 useful solutions. Quelm sat in the back row, watching diplomats and administrators argue about problems they did not fully understand while offering fixes that made no practical sense. Proposals ranged from banning humans from standard recruitment entirely to creating a separate testing facility on a remote moon where human capabilities could be studied without causing panic. Finally, Fenn stood and raised one appendage for silence. Enough. The humans are already here. 17 of them have completed initial processing, and according to Galactic Coalition law, we cannot deny recruitment based on biology alone. We need functional solutions, not philosophical debates. The testing equipment cannot handle their performance metrics, Quelm found himself saying, surprised by his own voice. Every head in the room turned toward him. I have been running assessments for 17 cycles. The drones are not designed to be caught. The reflex tests are calibrated for species with response times between 0.1 and 0.4 seconds. Humans average 0.03. Our equipment literally cannot generate challenges fast enough. So we need new equipment, Fenn said. We need a new everything, Quelm corrected. New tests, new standards, new evaluation criteria. And someone has to develop these protocols, which means someone has to work directly with humans to understand their actual capabilities, rather than just measuring how badly they break our existing systems. The room fell quiet. No one volunteered. Fine, Quelm sighed, recognizing his own doom. I will do it. Reassign me to human integration development. I have already seen my career credibility destroyed. Might as well make it official. Fenn's expression shifted to something that might have been gratitude or possibly relief at finding a sacrifice willing to walk into the fire. Approved. You will have full authority to redesign testing protocols and training programs. Vokta will assist you. Budget is, for the moment, unlimited, because we are terrified of what happens if we do this wrong. 3 weeks later, Quelm stood in a completely redesigned testing facility that looked less like a standard assessment bay and more like some kind of elaborate obstacle course. Humans, he had learned, responded well to what they called challenges and became quickly bored with repetitive tasks. The new system involved variable terrain, unpredictable obstacles, and competitive scoring that humans seemed to find motivating for reasons he still did not fully understand. Kira was his primary test subject, mostly because she found the entire situation hilarious and had volunteered enthusiastically. She currently hung from a climbing wall, casually pulling herself upward with one hand while eating what humans called a sandwich with the other. "You are supposed to be demonstrating maximum effort," Quelm called up to her. "I am hungry," Kira replied. "Multitasking." Vakta made a notation on her datapad. Human ability to perform complex physical tasks while simultaneously consuming nutrition. Add to baseline capability list. "That list is now 47 pages long," Quelm muttered. 48, Vakta corrected. "I just added the sandwich thing." The sound of boots on metal announced new arrivals. Hular entered the facility, followed by Tavik and several other xenobiology specialists who had taken uncomfortably intense interest in human physiology. They came twice a week now. Observing and taking notes like Quelm's testing bay had become some kind of academic research facility. "How goes the protocol development?" Hular asked. "Slowly," Quelm admitted. "Every time I create a test I think might challenge them, Kira completes it while having a conversation about Earth weather patterns. Yesterday she set a facility record on the agility course while explaining something called skiing, which apparently involves sliding down frozen mountains on pieces of wood. For recreation." "Death-worlders," Tavik said, not without a trace of admiration. "They consider mortal danger entertaining." Kira reached the top of the climbing wall, finished her sandwich, and looked down at them expectantly. "What is next? Please tell me it is not more of those balance beam things. Those are boring." "Gravitational variance chamber," Quelm said, pulling up the test on his console. "You will navigate an obstacle course while gravity shifts between 0.5 and 1.5 standard." "Oh, cool," Kira said, dropping from the wall and landing in a crouch that made Bront, who had recently returned from medical, make a small whimpering sound. That sounds actually fun. She was right. It was fun. For her. Quelm watched her adapt to gravitational changes in real time, her movements flowing between different force environments like she had been born doing it. His equipment registered her performance, assigned scores that kept climbing into ranges that did not exist in his database, and finally just displayed a flashing symbol his translator rendered as error due to excessive competence. "I'm going to need completely new measurement scales," Quelm said to no one in particular. "We all are," Hular agreed. 2 months after the initial drone incident, Quelm found himself standing on a ceremonial platform in front of 300 coalition personnel and 17 extremely confused humans. The graduation ceremony for the first human recruitment class had attracted attention from across the sector. News services wanted interviews. Academic institutions wanted study permissions. Military divisions wanted recruitment rights. Kira stood at the front of the human group, wearing a standard coalition uniform that had required custom tailoring because human proportions did not match any existing species templates. She had been selected to give a speech representing her entire cohort, mostly because she had lost a game of rock, paper, scissors to Endra, which was apparently how humans made important decisions. "Honored officials," Kira began, reading from notes she had scribbled on her datapad 10 minutes earlier. "On behalf of all humans here, I want to say we are super excited to be part of the Galactic Coalition. We promise to try not to accidentally break too much stuff, catch things we are not supposed to catch, or generally freak everyone out with our apparently terrifying death world biology." Nervous laughter rippled through the audience. We understand that we are a little different from other species. Apparently, we come from a scary planet, full of things that want to eat us. And we responded to that by deciding to eat them back and then invent sports about it. But we think that diversity is what makes the coalition strong. You all have amazing abilities we do not have. We just happen to be really good at grabbing things that move fast. She paused, looking out at the sea of alien faces. Also, we are told that our reflexes are being studied for potential applications in emergency response systems, which is cool. If our weird prey drive instincts can help save lives across the galaxy, then all those childhood games of catch were totally worth it. The ceremony concluded with the presentation of service assignments. Kira received placement in emergency rescue operations. Garrett went to logistics coordination. Endra got assigned to construction engineering. Each human received positions that played to what Quelm now recognized as their natural advantages: speed, adaptability, and an absolutely baffling lack of fear regarding physical challenges. As the humans filed out, chattering excitedly about their new assignments, Quelm found himself standing next to Fen. "You survived," Fen observed. "Barely," Quelm replied. "Do you know what my newest project assignment is?" "I'm afraid to ask." "Integration protocols for the next human recruitment wave. Apparently word has spread back to Earth about opportunities in the coalition. We are expecting 200 applications next quarter." Fen made a sound that might have been a laugh or possibly existential despair. "The galaxy will never be the same." "No," Quelm agreed, watching Kira demonstrate something called a cartwheel to a group of fascinated Threndal engineers. "It absolutely will not." Across the station, in a training bay that had been hastily converted for human-compatible exercises, Garrett had begun his first day of logistics training. His instructor, a patient Corvalli named Thex, watched in mounting horror as Garrett casually juggled 4 plasma grenades while reviewing inventory protocols. "Those are live explosives," Thex managed to squeak. "Yeah, but they have like a 5-second arming delay after you pull the pin," Garrett explained, continuing to juggle. "Plenty of time. We used to juggle stuff like this back home for fun. Well, not plasma grenades, but, balls, fruit, sometimes kitchen knives if we were feeling ambitious." "Kitchen knives?" "Sure. Nothing dangerous, just like regular knives." Thex pulled up his incident report form, stared at it for a long moment, then closed it and opened his transfer request application instead. He had heard Planetary Surveys was hiring. Nice, safe, predictable rocks. Back in his office, Quelm was updating his training manual for the 15th time that week when a message appeared on his console. It was from the Zenith Station Director, marked urgent. "Effective immediately, all human training protocols will be considered classified coalition military assets. Your work has been noticed at the highest levels. Congratulations on your promotion to Director of Xenospecies Integration. Your first assignment is to develop assessment standards for potential predator species recruitment. Apparently, we just received first contact signals from a species that evolved from pack hunters. They want to join the coalition. We need to know if they will break our equipment too." Quelm stared at the message. Then he began to laugh. It started as a quiet chuckle and built into something that bordered on hysteria. Vokta appeared in his doorway, concerned. "Are you having a medical emergency?" "No," Quelm gasped between laughs. "I'm having a career. Apparently humans were just the beginning." "That is absolutely terrifying." "Yes," Quelm agreed, pulling up his console and starting a new file labeled Predator Species Integration Handbook. "Yes, it really is." Somewhere in the station cafeteria, Kira and Endra sat with their new rescue operations team, trying to explain the concept of extreme sports to a group of increasingly distressed Anthoxy. Outside the viewports, stars wheeled in their ancient patterns, indifferent to the small dramas of the beings who had learned to move between them. The galaxy had just gotten a little bit faster, a little bit stranger, and significantly more interested in games involving thrown objects. And Quelm, despite everything, found himself looking forward to seeing what happened next. Even if it probably involved more incident reports than any reasonable being should have to file in a single lifetime.